Hello, my friends. Welcome to Brain Smoke. I'm Dennis Gebhardt with Guru Village. This is my little episode to share some information with you. The reason I started this little program is because I wanted to reach out and try to help give some clarification to what some of the information that we hear in this industry. I don't know about you, but sometimes it drives me crazy when I hear information that, one, doesn't make sense, and two, is contrary to what we know to be true as far as science goes. So this is my little piece of information I want to share with you today. I want to talk a little bit about the hair, and I want to talk a little bit about that canvas that we work on, how to deal with hair as our canvas. So I'm going to go to my slides here, put these guys up on the screen. All right, so you can still see me. I'm up here in the upper right-hand corner. And this, my friends, is a hair strand. This is the canvas that we work on. We all work on the same canvas. Why is it important to understand the characteristics of this canvas? Because it will make or break our hair color results. It will also, it may sometimes not stay with us. My mentor always said, you can do anything you want to hair once. But our job is to do it over and over again. So here's some of the things I think it's important to know. And I'm sure many of you may know this already, but let me share this with you. First of all, we know that we have cuticle on this hair. When I say cuticle, it's not a cuticle, it is cuticle layers. Remember, the average head of hair has 7 to 10 layers of cuticle. Resistant heads of hair have anywhere from 14 to 18 layers of cuticle. So the more cuticle there is in the hair, sometimes it makes it more resistant to a color service. Keep that in mind. Also, between the cuticle layers, we have something called the cell membrane complex, or CMC. These are the natural lipids that keep your cuticle compact, much like the brake linings on your car. As you well know, is if you use your brakes over and over again, and you use them too much, that brake lining wears away. And as it gets thinner, you eventually end up metal on metal. Well, the same thing applies in hair. That cell membrane complex keeps the cuticle layers compact and tight. It also helps the hair to prevent it from retaining too much moisture, because we know the characteristics of hair that is in a porous state is that it holds on to moisture way, way too long. So it's important for us to know that those kind of things have to be replenished, especially if we're doing chemical services. Remember, the more that we swell the hair and constrict it and swell it and constrict it, or swell it and swell it and swell it without repairing it, the less we have of that cuticle membrane complex. Even though it makes up only about 2% of the hair's structure, it is vitally important to keeping the cuticles compact and keeping that hair looking very shiny and looking very beautiful. Next, we have the cortex, which most of us understand is where most of the melanin in hair exists, and that's where we color hair with permanent hair color. But remember that when we color hair, we also color in and around the cuticle layers as well. The cortex is essential because once you lose your cortex, or once you've lost that part of it, you've destroyed it too much, the hair is not going to stay together, simply as that. I always say, when you take someone to palest yellow, you are taking that hair to the very edge of death, but you're leaving enough protein structure in that hair so that it will hold on to some color. Blondes are very, very fragile hair color types. So cortex, very important to understand, what that makes up that centermost portion of the hair. And then, of course, there's the medulla. Medulla, some people have it, some people don't. No one really knows the purpose of that. But these really are the sections or the layers of the hair. Important for us to remember. It's also important for us to remember that fine hair has more cuticle than coarse or medium textures of hair. Fine hair has approximately 80% cuticle, 20% cortex. What does that mean? That means that's why sometimes fine hair is a little more resistant to color. It also means that is why fine hair kind of gives up color before medium to coarser textures of hair will, because of the nature of that fine texture. Next, we have medium texture hair, which is about 50-50. And then we have coarse textures of hair, which are about 20% cuticle and 80% cortex. This is why people that have certain ethnic backgrounds that have those coarser textures of hair, because it's a big hair strand, they feel that they have to use high volumes of developer and high levels of color. And here's what happens. When you swell that smaller cuticle area and you keep it swollen, and then you are using a very aggressive peroxide or developer at 40 volume or higher, you're really going to chip off any of those cuticles that are going to protect the hair. Remember, the cuticle layer is a semi-permeable, translucent sheath that protects the cortex of the hair. So it's very important to retain that cuticle as much as you will. Now, the hair is not alive. People say, is hair dead or is it alive? And some people say, well, it's an interesting thing. The hair actually is what we would call a fibrous, keratinized tissue. When hair grows out of the scalp, that first 1/8 of an inch is what we call cellular tissue. It's a transition. It's going from cellular tissue into fibril tissue. So truly, the hair is really it's a dead fiber. So why do I want to say that to you? It's because many people believe that hot water and cold water have an effect on the hair. Absolutely not true. It is true that heat and cold affect living tissue, your skin, but it has no effect on the hair. So then how do I swell the hair? Well, you swell the hair through a pH change. So it's pH that affects the hair that makes the cuticle layer swell or constrict. The temperature of the water has literally nothing to do with this. Now, I know some of you are going to push back on me and you're going to say, no, 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 in my world, it works. And I said, that's great. When you get your planet, that's great. But right now on Earth, we know what science says, that it's negligible, the difference between using hot water and cold water on the hair. People say, well, then why does the hair get plump? Why does it swell? Because that cell membrane complex, which is made up of natural lipids, when you apply heat to those are like oils, the molecules start to expand. And as they expand, there's a plumping effect that occurs, and that's what makes it seem to people that the hair is swollen more when you put it in warm water as opposed to cold water. But it has nothing to do with closing the cuticle. It's just that cell membrane complex. All right, so here's some of my favorite photos from my photo album. My photo album is probably different than yours. I want you to look at this picture on the left-hand side. This is what happens when you completely remove the cuticle from a hair strand. Now, this hair strand is probably on a lot of people today that are walking around, but because they can't see a microscopic photograph of it, they have no idea. I want to tell you, this hair on the left-hand side, there is no repairing that hair at all. Can't do it at all. We could put anything we want on it. We could put a bond builder in there. We could do all that stuff, but you're not going to replace that cuticle. Once the cuticle's gone, that hair, the only adjustment you can do is a physical adjustment. That means you got to cut it off. That means you got to cut it off. Upper right-hand corner, that is what it looks like when you lose your CMC, when it starts to degrade. You can see those cuticles are almost like little dishes, right? They're like flinging out like that. So there's nothing to hold them compact. So the only way you can get that cuticle to lay down smoothly is by round brushing it with a styling product and flat ironing it. And sometimes even that flat iron is not going to get that cuticle layer to lay down as well. And when you look at it up close, you can see that it's not a nice smooth cuticle on that hair. The center picture is what a normally swollen cuticle would look like. And as you can see, the cuticle imbrications are slightly raised, but they're not extremely lifted off the hair. Sometimes we have this feeling that the cuticle has hinges on it. You've heard people do this. They go, open it, close it. Nonsense. It's not the way the cuticle works at all. It does lift and does swell, and it does allow hair color to work its way down through the membrane complex, down into the cortical fibers, and that's where hair color works. That's the way hair color works. It also, some of it goes through because the cuticle is a semi-permeable, translucent fiber, okay, or tissue. semi-permeable, translucent, meaning that some things go straight through that cuticle layer. Other things go down in between the cuticle layers, work their way through the CMC. Here at the bottom is what split ends look like. There's no hope for split ends. You know, we can put styling products on it to try to repair it. You can try to glue it back together, but once hair has gotten to that point, again, it has to be simply removed. It will be end up on the floor either way. All right, the next two pictures I want to show you, hold on. The next two pictures I want to show you have to do with some theory that I've seen most recently on certain forums, where I've seen people writing about the blue, red, and yellow in hair. And I want you to know that there is no blue, red, and yellow in hair. Let me say that one more time for all those who are going to push back against me. There is no blue, red, and yellow in the hair. There's only two pigments that make up the pigmentation in the human species. One of them is called eumelanin, one is called pheomelanin. They're the only two colors that are in the human body. And you say, well, then how do you get brown hair? You get brown hair, you know, if they have brown hair naturally, okay? And you notice that the natural brown hair is not the brown that we make in art class. Why is that? It's because they don't have the same basic elements to work with. So we use a lot of tools like the color wheel, the level finder. All of those are tools to give us an idea. It's all an estimation. And so that's why sometimes color gets very confusing, because we truly believe, I mean, I've heard people say that the blue leaves first, the red leaves second, and the yellow leaves last. That's not true. You know, there's no guarantee that blue's going to leave first. The reason they say that is because one type of melanin, eumelanin, is a little bit larger in size, and it's more widely separated, so it's easier to lighten out of the hair. Pheomelanin, on the other hand, is smaller in size, and it's more of a warm tone. So we take what we see and we say that blue leaves first. It's a guide. So if I'm going to be coloring hair back, I know to make hair darker, I have to add more blue. So I don't want to get into a color class, because then I'll get really crazy here. So anyway, this is what hair looks like. Here's some pictures of mine. This is what pheomelanin looks like under a scanning electron microscope. I want you to see that it's sort of orangish and kind of copperish. It's small in size. It has a very interesting characteristic. Usually people have high ratios of pheomelanin. Very difficult to get them to blonde. And even if you can get them blonde, it's very difficult for them to remain a blonde because of some of the characteristics of pheomelanin in the hair. All right, the next type of pigment that's in the hair is called eumelanin. Can you see how much larger they are? The melanocytes are much larger. This is the same scanning electron microscope, and this is sort of black to gray. So those are the colors that are in hair. In order to master hair color, we have to be realistic. We have to understand that these are the colors that we work with. I mean, I'm sure you would probably be shocked if I told you there's no such thing as an undertone. An undertone was created as a guide to help colorists understand when they lighten hair approximately how light that hair is, because we're the people who quantified it, levels 1 through 10. Because truly, when hair lightens, what you're seeing is the degrading of the protein structure in the hair. That's what we do. When we color hair, we degrade the protein structure of the hair and replace some of it with artificial pigment. So mastering this business is understanding not only the theory that people teach, but it's understanding the realistic effect of how things actually work. So I wanted to share these with you today, and hopefully this little segment has given you some big ideas. If it's excited you about learning more about the hair, I invite you to come and visit me online for our virtual classroom. You can go to our website, www.guruvillage.net, attend one of our classes on hair color science. I recommend that if you want to learn more about how hair color works, or you can purchase one of our pre-recorded webinars, very nominal fee, and you can watch it over and over and over again until you really totally understand it. I also invite you to come and visit us. We've got lots of live programs coming up here in the next couple of weeks, and we actually have physical programs as well, where we're actually doing live hands-in, hands-on programs. They're all on our website. If you found this information interesting, please share it with your friends. Tell them about Guru Village. Our company as a company is dedicated to helping you, salon professional, master your industry. We do that by providing you with factual, science-based information, no spin, no manufacturer stories here. It's all about you. And I want you to remember that, because we are dedicated to your improvement, because we truly believe that if you can master hair color, you can color hair with anything. So hopefully you found this interesting. I thank you for letting me share my time with you. I'll be coming on at least on a weekly basis doing my little brain smoke episodes, and I leave you with 3 words: learn it, live it, own it. When you do that, you become the master of your life and the master of hair color, and your whole career will change. From my heart to yours, I'm Captain Color. I'm out. Have a great day. Bye-bye.